Greetings to all of you in Japan. I'm Derek Robinson, Director of Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance. We here in the United States are very pleased to be working with you on this issue of covert harassment and mind control technologies. In the U.S., there are about 3,500 to 4,000 targeted individuals, also known as TIs, that are working together with us for freedom on a daily basis. We find it is important to keep a positive outlook for our situation and to strive to inspire hope at every opportunity. We had a spectacular year last year, 2014. Many remarkable things happened with our organization that have propelled our message forward, and we're on track for a dynamic year in 2015. We are making many more connections with more people that can make a great difference for our cause. Recently, a primetime television network show called Stalker presented an episode about group stalking. This was a milestone because this program has potentially reached millions of viewers who are now aware of the crime of group stalking. The main issues we are concerned with are organized group stalking and remote electronic assaults, as displayed from a billboard advertisement we ran a few years ago in the Los Angeles area. Organized stalking is when a group of people stalk and harass an individual, and remote electronic assaults are attacks upon a person's mind and or body, usually from a remote location, using one of various types of weapons of directed energy, such as microwaves, lasers, acoustic weapons, and more. According to a recent survey, 93% of our organization is comprised of remote electronic assault victims, and 68% are being surveilled and harassed by organized stalkers. 43% also receive synthetic telepathy, the technology that projects the human voice into a person's mind, while 21% are dealing with chemical and biological assaults. As victims of a secret Holocaust, we realize that only by continually speaking out will we eventually be heard, taken seriously, and have our issues addressed. FFCHS was originally founded in 2005 by a native Israeli victim of electronic torture. She started by enjoining targeted individuals from various forums around the internet to unite. We began as a Yahoo forum, then a month later initiated our first conference call in February of 2005. There were about 30 people at that first call. However, nowadays, we generally have from 150 to 200 people at our weekly Saturday night podcast. And during weeknights, as many as 70 or more callers may tune in to some conference calls. We have an e-newsletter that is published on Saturday afternoons, as well as local support groups in many of the major cities across the country. In October of 2014, we had our very first 8-hour live cast, a fundraiser for the organization. And in January of this year, we had our very first webinar. We are planning to branch out in more ways in 2015 with more webinars, live casts, and in a few months, a town hall meeting with local officials who will hear our concerns and help us develop solutions for the criminal activity that we experience daily. The focus of our activism is in 3 main areas: networking and support for victim survivors, advocacy of our issues to elected officials, and outreach to the media and the general public. One of the foundational protocols utilized by perpetrators against targeted individuals is isolation. Once isolated from disbelieving friends and family members, The perpetrators then have free rein to zero in on harassing and tormenting a victim until it is hoped that he or she commits suicide, homicide, or both. This juncture is where our organization becomes important. Our 800 number, the nightly conference calls, and local support groups often provide the critical difference for desperate TIs who may feel driven to self-harm because they see no other way out of their torment. The Technology Committee has probably saved many lives, or made the lives of many in our community more livable because of the defensive materials and techniques they provide to victims under covert attack. After many years of campaigning to politicians at the national level, lately we have begun reaching out to our local representatives for assistance with much greater results. One of our members in particular has been in communication with the vice mayor of her town in California, who has been responsive to her requests for assistance with being targeted with microwave weapons. She is the only targeted individual so far that can now call her local police for assistance with a microwave attack, and they will respond with filing a police report. We believe that the more the general public becomes aware of our issues, the sooner we will arrive at our goal of freedom. For instance, a while back, one member of our group was exonerated of a $700 seatbelt ticket because the judge in his case believed his claim of being a targeted individual. Fortunately for this TI, this judge happened to have seen the episode of Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory, which featured the plight of targeted individuals. This awareness opened the door for the judge's acceptance of the victim's testimony of harassment, and he sided with the victim in dropping the charge against him. This was our first court case where our activism efforts paid off. In April, there's a public education event being planned for the 16th in Tallahassee, Florida. A group of TIs plan to reach out to the Florida State University campus and speak to them and the community at large about a targeted individual and mass shooter who injured students at the school last November. His name is Myron May. Even though we all feel that his actions were counter to our beliefs, we also feel that the FSU community is entitled to know the real Myron May and to understand what drove him to his decision. This is a very sensitive subject. However, we believe that we need to speak up on his behalf so that people understand what was happening with him and many others like him in the society. We are hoping for the best. As we look to the coming days and months ahead, we see that our organization is growing on several fronts in areas that may greatly expand our message. Much of our work will be centered around reaching out to officials in our home communities, gathering signal evidence of criminal assaults with frequency weapons, and outreach projects to the general public. We are also hoping to expand beyond the borders of our country and make alliances with targeted individuals internationally. We believe that a global response to domestic covert terrorism will greatly enhance the message we are striving to bring forth within our separate countries. Recently, we have enjoyed the correspondence and the pictures we received from the members of this organization. It helps us to know that your lives and your targeting have many similarities to our own. In closing, we'd like to thank Mr. Terakatsu Ishibashi, Chairman of the Board of Directors, for the Technology Crime Victims Network for this opportunity to address your conferences. And we hope that this video will help initiate an international coalition in the struggle against covert crimes. As I stated earlier, we in the United States feel that we're on the verge of making significant progress in addressing our targeting situation. We also wish the same for you. Thank you.